All right, let's talk about what just happened with the Dallas Cowboys, because this move might not look flashy at first, but it could quietly be one of the smartest things they've done this offseason. So here's the deal. Dallas makes a trade, moves a late pick, and brings in linebacker Dee Winters from the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm telling you right now, this is the kind of move that people sleep on until halfway through the season when everyone's asking how this guy became such a key piece. Because if you've been following this team closely, you already know linebacker has been a need. Not just depth, not just rotation, a real, reliable presence in the middle of the defense. And finally, they addressed it. Now, I already know what some people are going to say. They're going to pull up the grades, look at the numbers on the surface, and say, this isn't that impressive. But that's exactly why this move is interesting. Because sometimes the numbers don't tell the full story, especially with a player like Winters. This is not a flashy, highlight reel linebacker. He's not coming off the edge like Rashawn Gary trying to rack up sacks. That's not his role. That's not what he's built for. Winters is an off-ball linebacker. And what that means is he lives in the space that defenses absolutely depend on, but fans don't always notice. He drops into coverage. He reads plays. He reacts. He keeps everything in front of him. And when you really break down his game, one thing stands out immediately: his coverage ability. In today's NFL, that matters more than ever. You're dealing with tight ends, running backs, slot receivers, all attacking the middle of the field. If your linebackers can't cover, your defense gets exposed fast. And that's where Winters starts to separate himself. At one point, he graded as one of the top coverage linebackers in the league. Let that sink in for a second. Not average, not decent, one of the best in coverage. That's not something you just ignore. Now, is he perfect? No. There are areas where he needs to grow. Run defense consistency can improve. Play strength can improve. Awareness in certain situations can improve. But here's the key. He's only 25 years old. That matters. Because you're not bringing in a finished product. You're bringing in a player who still has room to develop, still has upside, and now gets a fresh opportunity in a system that might actually unlock more of his potential. And when you look at what he did last season, there are some real positives to build on. 85 solo tackles. That alone tells you he's active. He's around the ball. He's involved in plays consistently. But here's the stat that really jumps out: 43 stops. Now, if you don't know what that means, let me break it down simply. A stop is essentially a tackle that counts as a failure for the offense. It's not just bringing a guy down, it's making a play that disrupts what the offense is trying to do. So when you see 43 stops out of 85 solo tackles, that means about half of his tackles were impactful plays at or near the line of scrimmage. That's huge. That's not just cleaning things up downfield. That's making plays where they matter most. That's getting in position early, reading correctly, and executing. And that's why I'm saying don't sleep on this move. Because this isn't just about adding a body to the linebacker room. This is about creating competition and flexibility. Now you bring Winters into a group that already includes DeMarvion Overshown, and suddenly things get interesting. Because now it's not just about who starts, it's about who earns it. You've got Winters, who could realistically step in and be a day one starter. You've got Shamar James, who has the talent but still needs development. And you've got Overshown, who's already shown flashes and is looking to lock down his role. That's three guys, all with something to prove. And when you create that kind of environment, good things usually happen. Because now nobody's comfortable. Now every rep matters. Now every mistake costs you. And for a defense that's trying to stay elite, that kind of internal competition is exactly what you want. But let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture. The Cowboys didn't go out and spend big money here. They didn't make a headline-grabbing move. They identified a need, found a player with upside, and made a low-risk trade to address it. That's smart team building. Because if Winters hits, you just upgraded your linebacker room without giving up much. And if he doesn't fully pan out, you still have options. You still have depth. You still have competition pushing everyone forward. There's no downside here. And that's what makes this move so intriguing. Now let's talk fit. Defensively, Dallas thrives on speed, aggression, and versatility. They want players who can move, who can adjust, who can handle different assignments without becoming a liability. Winters fits that mold. He's not going to be your blitz-heavy weapon every snap, but when you do send him, he can generate pressure. He's shown flashes of getting into the backfield. He's shown he can disrupt plays when used correctly. But again, his strength is in space. And when you combine that with the pass rush this team already has, it creates balance. Because now quarterbacks can't just dump it off underneath and expect easy yards. Now there's someone there who can read, react, and shut it down. And that's the kind of detail that doesn't always show up in headlines, but it shows up on Sundays. Now, let's be real for a second. This move alone doesn't transform the defense. It's not meant to. This is a piece, a calculated addition, a move that makes the overall unit more complete. And sometimes, that's exactly what separates good teams from great ones, the ability to find value in places other teams overlook. So when you look at this trade, don't just look at the name. Look at the role. Look at the fit. Look at the opportunity. Because Dee Winters is stepping into a situation where he doesn't have to be perfect. He just has to be reliable. And if he can do that, if he can bring consistency, coverage ability, and impact plays near the line of scrimmage, then this trade is going to look a lot better as the season goes on. Now, before we wrap this up, quick shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. Right now is one of the best times to get on the app because you've got both the NFL offseason heating up and the NBA playoffs going on at the same time. And the best part? It's simple. You're not building full lineups or competing against a bunch of people. You're just picking more or less on player stats. Points, rebounds, assists, but back to the Cowboys. This is one of those moves that might not win headlines today, but could win games later. And as this linebacker battle plays out through camp and into the season, don't be surprised if Dee Winters ends up being a name everyone's talking about. Let me know what you think about the trade. Do you like the move? Do you think Winters can start? Or do you think someone else takes that spot? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Let's really break down the linebacker situation for the Dallas Cowboys, because this is where the move for Dee Winters starts to make a lot more sense. For the past couple of seasons, linebacker hasn't been a strength. It's been a question mark. And not just in one area, across the board. First, you've had injuries constantly disrupting the position. Just when it feels like the unit is starting to build chemistry, someone goes down, rotations change, and everything resets. That lack of continuity makes it hard for a defense to stay consistent, especially in the middle where communication is critical. Then there's the issue of identity. What exactly has this linebacker group been? Are they fast and coverage-focused? Are they physical run stoppers? Are they versatile do-it-all players? The truth is, it's been a mix, but not a complete one. Take a player like DeMarvion Overshown. You see the flashes, speed, athleticism, range, but you're still waiting for full consistency. You see the potential, but you haven't seen it fully come together over a full stretch yet. And then you bring in someone like Shamar James, a young player with upside, but still developing. That means you're relying on projection, not certainty. That's the key issue right there. Too much projection, not enough proven reliability. Now let's talk about how that shows up on the field. One of the biggest problems has been defending the middle of the field. In today's NFL, offenses are designed to attack linebackers. Quick slants, crossing routes, tight ends up the seam, running backs out of the backfield. Everything is built to put pressure on that second level of the defense. And when your linebackers hesitate, misread, or can't keep up in coverage, those plays turn into easy completions. 5 yards becomes 10. 10 becomes a first down. And suddenly your defense can't get off the field. That leads into another issue, third downs. This is where great defenses separate themselves. And for Dallas, this has been inconsistent. When linebackers aren't locking down short and intermediate routes, quarterbacks get comfortable. They find easy reads. Drives stay alive. And it doesn't matter how good your pass rush is if the ball is out quickly. Which brings up another important point. The connection between linebackers and the defensive line. The Cowboys have built their defense around pressure. They want to disrupt quarterbacks, force mistakes, and create chaos. But when quarterbacks can neutralize that pressure with quick throws over the middle, it limits the impact of the pass rush. That's where linebackers come in. If they can take away those quick options, Now the quarterback has to hold the ball longer. And when that happens, the pass rush becomes even more dangerous. So improving at linebacker doesn't just help one position. It elevates the entire defense. Now let's talk about the run game. Another issue has been consistency against the run. Not necessarily getting completely dominated, but giving up yards at the wrong time. Missed fits, late reactions, or not getting to the spot quickly enough. Those small mistakes add up. A 4-yard gain on first down might not seem like much, but it puts the offense in control. Now they're ahead of the chains. Now your defense is reacting instead of dictating. And linebackers are at the center of that. They're responsible for reading the play, filling the gaps, and making sure runs don't turn into chunk gains. When that doesn't happen consistently, it creates long drives, wears down the defense, and limits opportunities for big plays. So when you step back and look at everything together, the problem becomes clear. Injuries disrupted continuity, lack of a clear identity, inconsistent coverage in the middle, struggles on third down, run defense that wasn't always reliable. That's why this position needed attention, not just for depth, but for stability. And that's exactly where bringing in Dee Winters becomes interesting, because he directly addresses one of the biggest issues, coverage. He brings speed, awareness, and the ability to stay disciplined in space. That doesn't solve everything overnight, but it gives the defense something it's been missing, a linebacker who can actually hold his own when the ball is in the air. And when you combine that with players like DeMarvion Overshown and Shamar James, now you're starting to build something more balanced. Less guessing, more competition, more options. So this move isn't just about adding a player. It's about fixing a problem that's been holding this defense back in key moments. And if they get it right, this entire unit could take a step forward.